All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tim Lee. I'm the director of the Texas Retired Teachers Association. Looks like we ran the intro from the previous show. As you all know, we've been off for about a week. We had a wonderful Easter holiday. I hope you all had a very enjoyable time with family and friends. And now we are back. Sean Duhamel is not joining me today. It's just going to be a single show now. I mean, quite honestly, it's just me running the production today. Roy has a day off, which is probably why I picked the wrong intro to run. So I'm sorry about that. But I'm so glad you could join today. We're going to kind of hit on, the major updates of things that have been going on. We're going to do, we're starting with weapon GPO like we normally do. And then we'll kind of hit on the Texas specific issues as it has been a busy 2 weeks since we were last all together. So, I think the first thing that I wanted to comment on is that my extremely good friend, probably one of my very best friends, Bill Barnes, and I had talked earlier today, and we have heard that some retirees may be getting letters talking about how their Social Security benefits may be impacted by the WEP and the GPO. Of course, the strange part of that is there is no WEP or GPO anymore. And I just want to start the show today by saying that if you are getting some kind of mystery letter that it looks like it's saying that you may be impacted by the windfall or the GPO, and kind of explaining what they are. I mean, obviously, we all know that WEP and GPO are now gone. I can see how it may be confusing, especially if someone is not a member of TRTA or another organization, and they're really not sure what is transpiring with all of these changes to Social Security. And they get a strange letter that it could really be confusing. It could be confusing to somebody who's not or who is a TRTA member. And so my request is that if you get any sort of strange communication from the Social Security Administration and you would like to contact us and let us know that you may have received it, so that way we can kind of check it out. You can get a hold of me personally at tim at trta.org. We also have another email. It's info at trta.org. I think the letter was probably legitimately from the Social Security Administration. It may have been from one of their mailing houses. And if that's the case, it could be that they just sent out by mistake some letters that had been going out every year like clockwork, talking about these issues and how they may affect retirees, and people just get that information. And somebody forgot to say, don't send that letter. It could be that simple. It may be something else. So it helps me knowing what patterns are developing. If some of you have seen any of those and you want to communicate it to us, hit me up by email and or send the email to info@trta.org or tim@trta.org, and that way we'll kind of get an idea if this is more widespread than what we believe. And so anyway, that would be very helpful. Other news on the Social Security front, we've mentioned him on this show before, and I'm going to continue to say, how much I appreciate it. Lance Gooden and his office and their staff and his staff, they're still working to try to find a spokesperson that we can be more direct with asking questions. I communicated to Congressman Gooden that what I'm looking for is someone at the Social Security Administration that can give us answers on how people are who have not received their retro payment or who have concerns about that retro payment, how we can get a better idea and a sense of what's happening on a nationwide basis, and what policies are being looked at. I mean, obviously, those of you who watch the show regularly know that Susan Collins and John Cornyn and Bill Cassidy and someone else, and I can't remember who it is, sent a letter saying they believe that the retro payment was not being handled the way that they voted on that bill to repeal the WEP and the GPO, and they asked Social Security Administration to look into it. As we reported 2 weeks ago when we were on the show with Sean, there was discussion, and there has been discussion on Capitol Hill about who is taking over the Social Security Administration. They have an acting director or an acting secretary. I can't remember what they call the person at Social Security, but there's somebody, I think the name is Dudich, that is running the agency at this time. And that is somebody who's temporary in nature. There is somebody that is being vetted now by the U.S. Senate to potentially take over that agency. And I think until that really occurs, we're still going to be trying to really find someone internally that might be able to help us. But I do want to commend the staff of Lance Gooden's office, Congressman Lance Gooden. You know, he's had such a close relationship with TRTA for years and years. He goes out of his way to help us. And I really appreciate them trying to find someone who can help us on the national level, as well as somebody that might be able to help on these cases where people have not heard about their retro payment. I am still getting emails, phone calls, text messages with retirees asking, should I start worrying about my retro payment? I think at this point in time, worry is probably not the word I would use, but I think that we have to be more maybe attentive to the idea that we're going to continue to push on getting those retro payments done. I looked at the Social Security website just last night. I think they had said they had processed 83%. That number's up about 6% over the last week and a half. So they are still getting retro payments out. There's been a lot of news about, a lot of people get the retro payment. All is good. They've got it. Great. They got their letter. Great. This month, they may even start getting their new payment amount. And there's many others that have not received it. And there's a sense that nobody wants to be able to help or nobody can help, and that they're worried about those things. And so I just want to say this, and we commented about this the last time. TRTA is not going to go away. We are, as an organization, are committed to helping our members, and that is the benefit of having a powerful association that is able to build relationships with these congressional members and these U.S. senators, so that we can find a way to get a foothold so that we can help our folks. I tend to try to help people no matter if they're a member or not. I'm not ashamed of that. I've had other people say, "Hey, look, if they're not a member of ours, then we're not going to help." I personally don't see things that way. Yes, I want you to be a member of TRTA. Yes, I want more people to be a member of TRTA. But I also am compelled to help when people need it. And so that's what we're trying to do. Maybe through that process, we'll win the support of folks that we've helped, and we'll see them join this organization. That being said, we're gonna continue to fight for everyone who has a payment that has not been delivered yet. We have heard these called the troubled files, or the more complex files, or some discrepancy files. When you multiply 17% by 3 million, you still get a lot. And doing math live on air is not my strongest suit. But you're still talking about hundreds of thousands of people that have not received their retro payment. And I still believe there are a lot of people that did receive the retro payment, but did not receive the full amount that they should have gotten. And I'm seeing, I'm looking at our comments of people chiming in and saying, they're still waiting. Betty on YouTube is saying, "Hey, I'm still waiting." We see some other folks that are just saying, "Thank you." Look, I just want you all to know, and hopefully you should know, me by now, to know that, number one, we don't walk away from a fight. Number two, it's not always about having a fight with someone. Sometimes it's just about being persistent, which we're going to be persistent. We never give up. We always work, as hard as we can, and we will not forget the folks that are starting to feel as though maybe somebody has forgotten them. Maybe somebody has not processed that payment for some reason, and all these other folks have gotten it. and now, I feel like I've been abandoned. And we've seen a lot of those comments. We talked about that last week. We are not going to abandon the Texas retired school employees, and we're also going to try to work with friends around the country. It's not just Texas where people have not received their retro payment. People tuning in today from other states will say, "Hey, I fall in that group. I've not got my payment yet." And I did, I did get an email from a TRTA member, one of my longtime dear friends, Mary Sexton, from I think Mary is from either Midland or I think she's from Lubbock. Gosh darn it, Mary! If you're watching this, type in your remind me of the town, and I should know, but again, I'm live on air, and so forgive me for that. But Mary got her retro payment, and hers had been delayed quite a little bit. So I do know that folks that for some reason kind of hit that slowdown, and we started to think that maybe the Social Security Administration was not making those payments. Well, we're starting to see more of those coming about. So don't lose hope. Please know that I am in regular communication with Congress and congressional friends that we have, asking them to make sure there is follow-up and find us people that can deliver answers. There has also been some conversation that I had with my friend Sean Duhamel today, and we explored other avenues that we might be able to try to exert some pressure on the Social Security Administration to provide answers or information. And there are things that we can do. There's the House Ways and Means Committee. Within that committee on the U.S. Capitol Hill, you've got Ways and Means, which is a committee that a lot of people know, but they have subcommittees. And one of those subcommittees is actually a subcommittee on Social Security. I'm probably going to reach out to all of the members of that subcommittee and ask them if they will look into this issue. I think if you get to a point where people from all over the country, congressional members from all over the country, especially what we call an agency of or a committee of jurisdiction over that Social Security Administration, if they're all saying, "Hey, you all need to be a little more forthcoming on this," then hope for them to provide some of that information. All right, let me check some of these comments here. We got folks tuning in from Corpus. Yes, I will go ahead and post the email addresses. Tim@trta.org. There's one, and that's going out on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm going to go ahead and push the other one out there, info@trta.org. And that one should be out there in the comments as well. So if you're watching this, and I think that was on Facebook, Janie commented, "Can you put those email addresses out?" Yes, there we go. Just kind of say hello to a few of our folks. So I got Houston tuning in. I got Corpus tuning in. Williamson County. I love my Wilco folks. They're so good up there. Diana, it's so good to see that you're here with us today. And is Karen talking, saying that she's from Houston. I'm glad Houston's checking in. Thank you so much. Not received my Social Security payment yet, or the back pay. So both issues, again, critically important. The back pay, we know they're still processing some, and we've got some other folks that have reported that their new payment is coming in, but we're going to try to follow up and see, Karen, if we can get a little more expediency being delivered. I thought after we were told by SSA they were not able to come on, and we were, through back channels finding out that there were a lot of administrative changes and staffing changes going on at SSA. And that same week, you had the person who's been tapped to take over the Social Security Administration going to Capitol Hill. There was also a lawsuit that had been announced on how the Social Security, I think the lawsuit that was being announced was against the idea that people could not access Social Security agency by showing up. I think it was being pitched. And again, I'm not a lawyer. So those of you that may have lawyers in your family, if I say this wrong, please understand I'm not a lawyer. But I think the legal case that some folks were bringing was that there are a number of retirees that for one reason or the other would not be able to access Social Security directly at an agency. And so having access to SSA staff through the online or through phone calls would be something that they did not want to see stopped. And if you remember, a few weeks back, there was some conversation saying that the SSA, because of security reasons, was going to stop the access through phone calls, and they were urging people to go to local offices. And since then, our friends at AARP had put out a post saying that that had been backed away. People had backed off that perception. SSA is kind of saying, "Oh well, we're not going to implement that as like we thought we were because of probably pushback from folks." So it really does. We have to continue to have pressure applied so that we can get these things taken care of. So all right, so let me check a few of these other comments that are coming in here. You see Joe checking in from East Texas, Tyler, Texas. I love going to see my friends in Tyler. Jeanette, so glad you're here with us. Terry County, which is District 17. Sharon, thank you for being here. James, I'm glad you're here, still waiting. Also one of our retirees who's still waiting. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to be one of those people who's saying, well, just be patient. Well, patience is a virtue, but so is making sure that you get your payment, which has been promised that you're going to get it. So we're not going to give up. We are not going to go away. And I hope that that I am reaching out to a lot of congressional offices. And it's just, when you have a personal friend who's in Congress, which Lanson, I would say he's a friend of mine. I've known him for such a long time. He is so good about trying to exert all of the power of his office to the benefit of retirees who need some help from Social Security. And so Matt is chief of staff. I would say, Matt, I know you're probably not watching, but I appreciate the work that you're doing for us on the behalf of our members. We have Martha, who's also saying she's not received the payments yet. Bonnie's saying, I received a retro payment, but I'm not sure it was enough. All right, so this is a good question, Bonnie. Thank you for checking in on this one. I received my retro payment, but I'm not sure it is enough. And you're very kind to say that. Thanks for all that you do. I have a little bit of an update on this one, and it's one of those things that I think it's going to be very circumstantial, and I'm not saying that it applies to your circumstance. One of my friends and colleagues has reported that a retiree in their state wanted to challenge the amount of payment that the person received. Seemed reasonable. There was some expectation that the amount of Social Security that the person could have counted on as a retro payment could have been and should have been higher. And the Social Security Administration did say that person had the right to appeal. The appeal process had been reported that in the event that the person goes through the appeal, SSA may claw back the payment that was made and potentially could reduce the Social Security amount back to, let's say, if it was affected by the WEP, and if it was $100, and now that WEP and repeal are gone, let's say it had gone to $500, the Social Security Administration would bring it back down to the $100 until the investigation was over. When that time comes, they would reach out, put it back to what the new amount should be. And then if the resolution was that the person did not receive enough, then another check would go back out to them. And so if you are going through any kind of appeal and you want to communicate that to me so that we have a little bit more information about it, certainly you can email me again at tim@trta.org and info@trta.org. We'd love to know how those appeals might be moving forward. It's very helpful to get information because, I have, friends in a lot of different states. And if it's going on in one state one way, it could be going on, differently in another state than even what is going on in Texas. So let's try to share information. Again, please don't send personal information. Don't send Social Security numbers. We've got a section on our website about ensuring that you do not have any fraudulent activity affecting you. And so, good practices are, hey, just send a summary, no personally identifying information, let me know how things are going, and then we'll see if we see any patterns coming from that. Um, anyway, Martha, I'm glad you said that you commented saying that you've not received your payments yet. I appreciate that. And then Bonnie also saying that that you got it, but it may not be enough. That's one of those things that we may need to take a look at and see if we can get someone from Social Security to help out. I will say this. We are very blessed to have a great teacher retirement system here in Texas. And I know some of you may be watching this in another state, and I know a lot of the other TRSs around the country and their staff. I think our Texas TRS is really good. And many times, if we have a concern with a TRTA member, I know someone that I can contact through teacher retirement system and see if we can get that person some help. They're not doing it for me. They're doing it because they want to help the TRS retirees. And a lot of times, if people are not communicating that they need the help, they wouldn't know. And so it's an opportunity for us to work together. And I love that about our TRS. And Brian Guthrie, who's the director of TRS, and a lot of their staff, are really, really good about making sure that retirees get the help they need. So that's great. That's a wonderful model. What we need is for that model to work for Social Security. I need to be able to work with someone at the Social Security Administration so that I can get Martha the help that she needs, and that I can get Bonnie the help that she needs. And that's what I'm trying to find. That's what we're really working to try to get. So stay tuned. Alicia has said Mary is from Lubbock, and I deserve a punch in the arm on that one. Maybe Mary will forgive me. Not that there's anything bad with Midland. I love going to Midland. I love going to all parts of Texas. So let's see what David is saying here. Will retired teachers that pulled all of their money out of TRS and are on Social Security receive any extra benefits? David's asking an interesting question here about retired teachers that took their money out of TRS and are on Social Security, receive benefits, any extra benefits. I think the answer is maybe. And the idea behind the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset is not that you were receiving a benefit from the TRS. Receiving the benefit, they didn't really care about. It helped, probably. But what their objective is that you had non-covered government service. Non-covered means that while you are working for a public entity, you may have been paying into that public entity's pension plan, but that work history with the public entity did not have the FICA tax connected to it. And so, while you were working at that government entity, let's just say an ISD, a school district, cop, firefighter, whatever, you may have had a second job. And so you paid into those Social Security benefits on those other work history. So, this question that David is asking is saying, hey, if this person preempted receiving a benefit from a public entity because they withdrew all of their money from that public pension plan, does that mean that they became ineligible to be affected by the WEP and the GPO when they were still around? And I'm pretty sure the answer to that was no. If you had enough government service that it, potentially, I think you had to have 8 or 10 years in non-covered service, and once you got to a certain amount of years, after that, the WEP was going to affect you. Now, there were some provisos that would have kept you from being affected by WEP and GPO. For example, if you were an individual who paid into TRS for, let's just say, 10 years, and then for the next 31 years, you worked in the private sector, and you took all of your contributions out of TRS and said, hey, I'm not getting a benefit. Well, at 31 years in the private sector, you would have automatically exempted yourself from being affected by the WEP. The rules back then were that if you had 120 quarters paid in, or 30 years of coverage, then you would not be affected by the WEP. So, there's little provisos and little provisions that may have affected that one way or the other. So, David, if you know someone who's got questions about that, share that email address that's on YouTube and Facebook. Let them reach out to me, and we'll see if we can answer some questions. So again, that's tim@trta.org and info@trta.org. All right, so we've got Randy saying, no check, no payment, nada. 10 years of Social Security payments that I've received, yet my wife can get an estimated of my unknown Social Security increase. She has a projected pay date of next week or the following. Yeah, definitely pieces that are moving here, it looks like, in this situation. My guess is that you've fallen into that 17% of people affected by WEP or GPO that have yet to receive the payment. Do I know when you'll get it? I do not. Do I believe that you will get it? I absolutely do. And we're going to push, no matter what. We're going to push until the very last person has said, "I finally received my payment." We will remain committed to helping all TRS retirees ensure that they are going to receive their retro payment as well as their new Social Security benefits. It is the law of the land. WEP and GPO are gone. They never should have existed to begin with, but now that they are gone, we have to remain committed and vigilant and steadfast in our support of each other to ensure that those benefits get paid. So, Randy, I know it feels like you may be isolated, but if you look through the comments that are being made, there unfortunately are a lot of folks that are affected. I mean, a very, very good friend of mine who is in California, who was a major supporter, very visibly involved in these activities, has also not received those benefits. And so I don't think that I haven't seen any pattern yet. For some reason, TRS or Social Security has said they needed to compute some of these in the by hand or with more man hours or people hours involved in them to get them calculated. So that's what we're dealing with. And we're trying to make sure that gets done. All right, let's see a couple more of these comments. I love your comments. It's a lot easier for me to do a show when y'all are participating like this. So I've been waiting 20 years to file for survivor benefits. Was told I would only get retroactive back pay July 24. So this is a comment Joe Brown is making. I've waited 20 years to be able to file for survivor benefits. So first sentence basically tells me that there's a spouse who passed away a number of years ago. Was told I would only get retroactive back to July of 24. What happened to January 2024 date? So unfortunately, what is happening is that Joe has fallen into this category of folks where the Social Security Administration is saying that they either do not have a record or that one of their Social Security agents may have told Joe when she first became eligible for a spousal survivor benefit, don't apply because you won't get it because there's a thing called GPO. And if you apply, you're going to get told no, so don't even apply. Now, I don't know that's what happened, but I'm reading between the lines here a little bit because we have a spouse who passed away years prior to January of 2024. The law went into effect, and that WEP and GPO ended on December 31st of 2023. So the retro payment should be backdated to January 1st of 2024. And that benefit that should be made eligible to you, the Social Security Administration is saying, hey, what I think they're saying is, we don't have a record of you applying for a spousal benefit prior to just recently. And what they're saying is, if you applied for that spousal benefit anytime in the last couple of weeks or last couple of months, they're giving you what we call that 6-month look back. And they're saying that, you can receive a retro payment for 6 months back. If you apply today and we file your paperwork today, you can tell us that you were eligible up to 6 months prior to this date. But that is not what was passed by Congress. The Social Security Administration is using their administrative code to determine your eligibility based on when you filed for your spousal benefit. They are not using the date that you became eligible to receive your spousal benefit, presumably when your spouse passed away. That's what we call a life qualifying event. Something happened in your life that made it eligible for you to qualify for that benefit. But, and it may have happened in your case, and it's happened in thousands of other people's cases. The Social Security Administration actively told retirees when they showed up to file for their benefit, don't apply because you're not going to get it. And many people did not apply because of what they were told. And so fast forward to today, and the Social Security Administration is saying to these folks, you are going to file for the first time today, and today is, April 25th of 2025. So instead of giving you your retro payment based on your life qualifying eligibility when the WEP and GPO officially got repealed, they're just saying we're only going to give you that 6 months of retroactive payment. And that has taken several weeks for us to understand why they were doing it and what was going on. And that's when, weeks ago, more than a couple months ago, we started working with Susan Collins, John Cornyn, Bill Cassidy, and a lot of other members. And they pinned that letter that said, hey, we don't think, Social Security Administration, you're handling this the right way. We think that Joe should be able to get a retroactive payment based on the life qualifying event, not when Joe showed up again in the Social Security Administration to file paperwork. Because the first time that Joe did it, you probably told her not to do it, and she didn't. She may not have done it because of what you said. Well, and that's Joe. You've asked a question. It's a question that thousands of retirees are dealing with, and so that's what we're trying, to get an answer to. And that work will not finish, and I will not be satisfied until we have a more definitive solution, especially when you've got 4 or 5 very powerful long-term senators that are articulating a position saying, I voted for the repeal of that thing. There were provisions that were in that law that should take precedent over your administrative code. Let's fix this for the retirees. So don't give up hope, but that's what's going on, and it's affected thousands of people. All right, so I think I've got a retro payment with calculation start date of July 2024. Another person, Ann, thank you. I hope that explained kind of the question. That's sort of where we are. Make sure my cell phone is I want to make sure somebody from Social Security isn't watching this, decided to call me all of a sudden and say, hey, can we talk? All right. So a lot of folks saying, thank you for the information. I appreciate doing it. Y'all are great. See Joe. Hey, Joe Ramirez from Austin. I'm not sure if you're a TRTA member, please check out our new stories that we're doing on our website called TRTA and Me. TRTA, and this is a little bit of a shift. I'll come back to the topics in just a second. But TRTA and Me, the Me, M-E, stands for member experience. We have the best members ever. Our retired school employee members, TRTA members are awesome. You live amazing lives. You've done amazing things. I am in awe of every single one of you. Every one of you has a great story, and I want to share those stories. And Joe contacted me a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago now, and said that one of his very close friends had recently passed away. But she had a great story about how she had started a tradition at the University of Texas. She was a lifelong educator, vibrant personality, and we did a story about the Sunflower Lady. And Joe, gave us information about that. I love that story. You can check those out. TRTA and Me Stories are on our website. Sign up. You can get our all of our updates through the Inside Line. We're really happy to do those. And if you've got a story, if you've got a member or a chapter or some experience that's going on, please let us know. I'd love to write a story about it. We're going to start doing stories about schools and what's happening in our public schools. I had an idea, and this is as good a place as any to mention it. If you are formerly a coach here in Texas, I would like to reach out to our Texas coaches and see if we can start doing stories on the up and coming athletes in our public schools. I think that would be so fun to hear about these kids, these young kids, and their dreams and what they want to do. I'd love to do some stories about, and it may be good for those young athletes to potentially find some volunteer opportunities with local chapters all across Texas. And see if there are things that they can do to help us that might help them on their journey in life. And so I'd love to do that. My friend Mark Terry over at TEPSA, they just rededicated the children's statues on the Capitol grounds. It was an amazing ceremony. Extremely privileged to be a part of that. And we're going to do a story about those, the children's statues, a memorialization and a dedication to the children in our public schools. Those statues were put there in the mid-90s. They needed to be refurbished. TEPSA and others got involved. Chairman Charlie Guerin, he's one of the toughest guys that I know. You know Charlie Guerin in the Texas Legislature. He's a guy you don't mess with. He's got a deep, grovelly kind of voice, and he's a cool guy. But he puts off a vibe that's, I'm all business. And when he started talking about what it meant for him to be a part of the experience of improving those statues and being reminded about the public school kids, he was in tears. I mean, it was one of the most moving experiences. And I'm going to do a story about that whole thing. So if you're a former TEPSA member, put some love on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. TEPSA is a great organization. Okay. See, Dora is here checking in. Let's go ahead. Oh, Abilene is here. My daughter is in Abilene. Hope all is well. Loretta Evans from Parker County. Thank you for being here. Sherry from Cypress. Thank you for being here. And if I'm not reading your name, y'all, I apologize. There's a balance between how long I think that you all want to sit and listen to me and how much time I think that I have. And also wanting to include a lot of you in saying hi. So if you don't hear your name, please know I'm so grateful that you're checking in and putting something in the comments section. I always read all of these comments afterwards so that I know if our shows are actually delivering the information that you need. And I'm looking here to watching from Fort Worth. I've had no Social Security response. This is Carolyn Carolyn John Williams response from Social Security check. A lot of folks checking in, probably still watching this. Please understand. We, as I said earlier, will not give up. Whether you're in Texas or in Missouri or Illinois or Colorado or California, wherever you are, our association efforts are very much focused on ensuring that there is full implementation of the WEP and the GPO, the retroactive payment, and the start of the new benefit. And I believe it will be my objective this next few weeks to see if we can get some congressional hearings on this. So, reports of receiving letters from Social Security asking about receiving a 13th check. There is something on the Social Security website about this, and some of this had to do with the Social Security just saying they wanted that information. There was some speculation that they may try to use those supplemental payments as ways to potentially reduce Social Security benefits. I don't think they're doing that, but I'm going to try to follow up again on that issue. And maybe in an inside line that I send out, I will include the section talking about what they were asking for on that information. If Roy were here, I would have him pull that section up. But since I'm running the whole production and all of the comments and everything else, I just don't want to lose the feed or the audience by trying to figure out how to pull that up. But I'm going to make sure that we share that information. And the website that you can go to, the Social Security, once you get to the right website, you can either go to Google and type in Social Security Administration WEP and GPO repeal, and then click on the one that says ssa.gov. If that is not something you'd like to do, you can go to trta.org, scroll down about halfway on our page, and there's a blue banner that says WEP and GPO repeal. Click on that, and there's an information box that says Social Security Administration frequently asked questions. It's in a red box. So just click on that and it will take you to the correct place, and you can scroll down where it's talking about that information. All right, 2 weeks ago, I was told that my account was flagged, but other info since then in regard to Web GPO, and that's in Ballard, Texas. So I think there are some of these cases that they flag as what they call complex, or that it's possible they're missing data, and some of that data they're trying to extrapolate based on work history to make sure that they give you all the money. So sometimes having it slow down is a good thing, because they're making sure that they're giving credit for all of the years of service that you may have had and calculating your benefit correctly. So I will say that it is probably very difficult being an employee of the Social Security Administration these days. There's been a lot of turmoil over there, and the things that I say about having us ensure that the SSA gets this accomplished and that there's pressure is not a negative reflection on those people. Excuse me, everybody. So we know they're working hard. They're trying to get the job done, and I think they're trying to do their best job they can for you. So we're just going to ensure that they know somebody is staying close to our members, and we're going to use all of our congressional contacts and all of our association influence to try to help that out a lot. All right, I know there are more questions here, but some people have told me that we go a little long on Social Security stuff and not enough on state happenings. So let me give you some quick updates on legislative activities here in Texas. The first thing I'll say is that this week, the Pensions Investment and Financial Services Committee, they had 3 bills that came up in that committee. Just very quickly, one of them was about efficiencies. That was a bill by Representative Giovanni Capriglione, another really dedicated personal friend of mine who really loves TRTA. And he is talking about creating a special study that would look at the totality of contributions to TRS to ensure that those contributions are being made in the most efficient way. So we didn't comment on that. We just slipped a card saying that we would support that effort. There was another bill talking about creating a revised pension system or plan with probably a little better benefit for law enforcement officers or first responders that work in our public schools. A lot of states will have a slightly higher pension for law enforcement and first responder officers, resource officers in the school district. Part of the rationale behind that is that they know that those folks run into dangerous situations. They have been involved in some dangerous situations. We heard testimony from the committee about someone who had some very negative, very bad things happen to them, and they rushed to the situation to provide the help. And so we didn't testify on the merits of the bill. We did testify on the financial implications of the bill. Ryan Guillen, who I've known for a long, long time, is trying to ensure that if they create something like that within the TRS, that it would be funded higher by the state and by the employer that was falling into that position to pay for it, so that it would be actuarially neutral. TRTA took a position of being neutral on the bill and committed to working with Chairman Guillen and others to see if that was something that financially and fiscally they were able to do. The final bill that was in the committee was talking about contributions to the TRS. And this particular bill by Representative Tepper out of the Lubbock area would have reduced the amount of contribution from charter schools in Texas. A lot of people don't know that charter school employees are, TRS contributing members. They absolutely are. Public charter schools are TRS contributing individuals, and so this bill was an attempt to try to get to parity in contributions. I understand the bill, but it did have a $27 million per biennium cost that over time would have an $806 million unfunded liability hitting the TRS. And we had to oppose the bill. Again, not because we're not for parity, but because there did not seem to be a way to make up for the lost revenue. And I certainly understand what the folks in the charter schools were saying, and that is, hey, if you look at what the active school districts, the K-12 ISDs are paying, they're not paying a full amount like we're paying, and it's based on a 2% contribution, and that's true. At the same time, when TRTA commented on it, we suggested that we make all contributions equal, and so you've got people in K-12 in those districts. They're paying a little bit less because of something called the minimum salary schedule and how all that works. And instead of having total covered payroll with the contribution being made, it's only made on the portion of the minimum salary schedule, which I talked about and testified in the committee. And then you've got people in higher ed who are TRS members, and they don't have the 2% contribution at all. And so they've got the same retirement benefits, but a pretty significant discount because they pay in less for that employee contribution or the employer contribution, but they ultimately get the same benefits. So it's sort of all over the map. And instead of messing with contributions that would potentially put a fiscal impact on TRS, especially an $804 million unfunded liability, we suggested that everybody pay the same amount, and take the minimum salary schedule portion out of this and just say, hey, look. If you're in K-12 and that 2% coverage is going to happen, it's on total payroll, charter schools, total payroll, and higher ed, total payroll. That would produce a much more significant amount of revenue to help cover the costs of the retirement benefit. It would probably truly help the overall funding status of TRS, and it would bring total contribution dollars in versus taking money away from TRS. So, I hate opposing bills because we want to work with legislators. We consider all of them friends, and we want to work with them as much as we can. And so that's what we're going to try to do, and we'll see where we go with that. As it stands today, the legislature has not increased contributions to cover potential liabilities for bills that have passed this session that may have an impact on the retirement system. We talked 2 weeks ago about a teacher pay raise. My wife is a teacher. They're big, difficult job, and I think that she deserves a lot more money. And so the legislature is moving in that direction to giving our school employees a pay raise, and that'll increase the liabilities at TRS. The legislature is not putting more money in the budget to cover that liability. That's probably going to be something that is likely not going to happen this session, even though we continue to talk to leadership about it. And we'll come back around maybe as early as next session that we'll have to really, get a little more aggressive on trying to make sure that contribution, that funding is there. As many of you know, in Texas, the state legislature ultimately did pass an ESA bill, an education savings account bill. Some people call it a voucher bill. Whatever terminology you want to use, the TRS and the Legislative Budget Board have all said that may lead to some unfunded liabilities at TRS. It was, according to TRS, it's probably a little too early to know how that's going to take effect. And so if it does have an impact on the retirement system, we, again, as an organization, are going to have to really advocate for making up for that potential loss. I know these legislators, and I know that they do not want to create unfunded liabilities with TRS. I believe that they have all worked very diligently to try to ensure that our TRS liabilities are not going up, but are coming down. And some of this legislation has just passed the way that it has. Please know, again, that your association leadership have communicated very directly with the people that are in charge in saying, uh, this is a yellow flag at least, and it could turn to red real fast if we don't pay attention to it. And I will say that we've gotten good feedback from the lieutenant governor. We've had good communication from the speaker. I believe, and I will say that I've had ongoing communications with Joan Huffman's office, Senator, Chair of Senate Finance. I think they're all aware of it. We've communicated with Bonin's office. I have not had a lot of communication with Chairman Bonin's office this session. That's something that I hope that will continue to, hopefully they're reading our messages, but we've definitely delivered the message, and we'd like to ensure that we're able to work with these people going forward. If the pension system liabilities go up, the ability to help retirees with COLAs and supplemental payments and everything else, those go down. And so, not to mention the fact that most of our work is designed to try to protect retirees' benefits for the future. And so, just like we've always said, everybody who's watching this, today and they're retired, somebody, was working for you 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago to make sure TRS was funded. That's a lot of our job. And I don't mean any, ill content or anything else towards these legislators. They got a lot of issues on their plate, and they probably just say they need more time to see how it's going to play out. I understand that. But be rest assured, we will come back and try to ensure that any unfunded liabilities that have been passed on to the retirement system because of any bill that passes this legislature ultimately will have the funding necessary to take those unfunded liabilities away and make sure TRS is funded. All right. Probably some of the difficult news that I will report is that according to what we are seeing in the Texas budget, both in the regular budget and the supplemental budget, it does not look like TRS is being targeted to receive funds necessary to pay for a benefit enhancement for retirees this session. That's disappointing news for a lot of folks watching this. But as of right now, the budget dollars are not there to provide a COLA or a supplemental payment. Still time on the clock. We still have a lot of folks that we're going to try to work with and see if we can make that happen. But as of today, April 25th, we're not seeing those dollars flow that direction. We never quit. We fight. We play every minute of the game, and we never walk off the field with not having done everything that we can to try to support those efforts. But we're going to continue to work on that. We know that a lot of you watching did not receive either the supplemental payment or the cost of living last time, and a lot of you only received the 2%, which is certainly better than nothing, but it was a marginal amount, and legislators would say the same thing. The objective is to help as many people as you can. You really want to help the folks that have lower incomes the most first, which I think we did accomplish a lot of that last time. But there are more and more folks that have not received a benefit or could use some extra help. And that's what we're always working for. So we're going to continue to work on those objectives. All right. So what I can say positively is that our pension system has received full contributions in their budget. So if we look at what those regular contributions are, the legislature did not reduce their contributions to TRS. That's a great win. And I do thank Chair Huffman, Chair Bonin, this Lieutenant Governor Patrick, and Speaker Burrows for ensuring that our TRS funding on pension system is there. That's billions and billions of dollars. And our TRS health insurance program called TRS Care is fully funded in this budget cycle. So those are all good things that are going on. So it has been a busy 2 weeks. It's going to be a busy month as we get into the last part of session. I did not think it was going to be a 54-minute show. And I still have a cough, as you can tell. But we're going to keep working on this every day. I'm going to read all your comments. Please stay on social media. Put any other comments that you'd like in here. I'm going to read through them all. I want to tell you, each and every one of you, thank you so much. We are in the middle of our membership renewal time frame. If you've renewed your dues, thank you so much. We appreciate that. If you are waiting to do that, certainly we're going to be sending that information out. If you know someone who is not a member of TRTA and you think they should be a member of TRTA, especially after some of the major victories that we've had, you've earned those things. You worked for them. Everybody who's watching this, you worked to get those things accomplished, and a lot of people have benefited from it. I know we need their membership. It is $35 for the year to be a member of TRTA. You join a local chapter, it may cost you a couple bucks more, but you get so much value out of it. I can't think of anything that is easier. I'm not a salesperson, I'm an advocate. But if I were a salesperson, the easiest thing in the world for me to sell is a TRTA membership. Please, if you would be so kind, put on your social media, talk to your friends, just let them know who we are. And ask them to join our organization. We have many, many battles yet to fight. We have many victories yet to come. I am as enthusiastic today as I've ever been about victory and getting things accomplished. And I look through these comments and I just can't wait to read them all. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.